Ah, that's hot. Well, hello. I'm back here again. Kicked the husband out of the house today, and it is YouTubing time. So I just wanted to throw out a quick video in regards to why we decided to go tiny, how we found this place, and I guess some tips in case anybody out there might be considering downsizing as well. The reason why we decided to downsize into a smaller house was because we were living in an apartment on the other side of town, and the apartment complex was sold to a big corporation that decided to jack up everybody's rent super high and remodel everything. So they kind of wanted everybody to leave so that they could refurbish the whole place and get renters in for a much higher price. So my husband and I said, peace, we don't want that. It's too high of a price to pay for a remodel that we weren't even really that excited about and we're renting from, just weren't into it. So we started looking around for a new place. We toured a bunch of different apartments and condos and that sort of a thing, and applied to a few places. We always were the second choice. We kept hearing people say, we loved you guys, you're a great couple, we would be so happy to have you as a renter, but we went with another couple instead. So that whole little journey, we were both kind of like, well, that just means that something better is probably going to come along. It's totally fine. We weren't too stressed about it or anything like that. And yeah, and we just kept looking. We looked for places primarily online, but I'll tell you exactly the websites we looked at and that sort of the thing towards the end of this video. And then all of a sudden, one day Ben came home and was like, I found the place. You're absolutely gonna love it. And he showed me the photos of the house that we are now in. I will show you what he showed me. So you can see, I mean, if you have an eye for potential or a big imagination, it's cute. It had some potential to it. I was terrified that he was going to make me move into this place because it just seemed way too small, way smaller than anything that we were looking at. It had such bare bones. I mean, it was barely a bedroom. We weren't even sure we would be able to fit a mattress in the little nook that was our bedroom. And I mean, it's just not cute. It was just not cute. And this whole time I kept thinking, I am a cellist, and that is a big instrument and requires a lot of room to play that thing. And I also where am I going to set all of this up? There's just no way. There's no way that we're going to fit into this tiny space. And I kind of dismissed it. And to be honest with you, the second we pulled up, I fell in love. This little house is so cute and old. It's very hard to find charm in the Los Angeles area, and pulling up to it, it just has that kind of cute old look to it, with trees overhanging, lots of shade, that sort of a thing. Is so green from the outside, which again, you don't get a lot of in the area that we're in. Of course, walking in, it felt small. It definitely felt small, especially compared to what we were used to. But Ben was totally right. I got so excited about how I would want to decorate and put together a tiny space, and we signed up for this as soon as we could. So we spent about 30 days or so in a transition period of trying to sell off a lot of our old stuff or get rid of it, and then we put in new floors, painted. I'll take you around and I'll kind of show you a little bit more up close what we did to this place before we moved in. I knew the first thing we had to do was paint the walls. We chose a taupe color just to make it a little bit less white, but still nice and light and airy. My husband also put in all new hardwood floors just right on top of the tile that already existed. We got this flooring from Costco. It's probably $200 for the whole thing.
I also put up some wallpaper just as a little extra design element. And this is kind of funny, but this corner totally smelled like cat pee when we moved in. We think that the former owners may have kept the litter box here, so we had to really scrub this up and use a Kills primer to cut the smell.
So you can see it's just a couple changes. It did not break the bank for us. I mean, what's a can of paint and some, just a little bit of lumber for the floors? We thought it was totally worth it. We also, to kind of make our transition a little bit easier, put a lot of our stuff that we weren't able to sell in that first 30 days into a storage unit. We found a storage unit that basically was like the first 30 days are free. So after we moved in, a lot of our stuff went into that storage unit and we gave ourselves 30 days. We said, okay, it's free for the first 30 days. We are not paying to house stuff that we're not using. And that just seemed logical to us. And at the end of those 30 days, what we still hadn't sold, we gave away. We definitely tried to stuff too many things in here at first, I think. I will say in my 3 years of being here, I've learned a lot about how to make the most of small space and how to really decorate so that everything has a spot but also looks cute. So if you subscribe to my channel here, then I will go ahead and follow up with some decorating tips for small spaces. Decorating is one of my favorite things. It kind of goes hand in hand with my passion for sewing. I just love creating things and figuring out how to make things work, basically. So stick around, we'll do another video on that. And while you're at it, please like this video. Thanks. Now, I wrote down some tips. Got them all prepared here. Tip number 1 here, look for small houses in all shapes and sizes. I think that when we think of tiny house, we think of that tiny house lifestyle, a house on wheels. I often see schoolies, RV life, van life on social media, as well as kind of the go-to ideas of small living. Look for other options here. It doesn't always have to just be a house on wheels. There are places out there like ours that are small, but doesn't require storage, traveling, gasoline, that sort of a thing. The 3 top websites that I would recommend for trying to find a privately owned tiny house would be Facebook, Zillow, and Craigslist. Now, we actually found our place on Craigslist. My husband found it. I think I'm more of a skeptic when it comes to Craigslist than he is, especially when it comes to something as serious as a home. But he was pretty confident. I will also tell you this kind of a little funny thing about when we found our house on Craigslist. I showed you the photos, of course, that we saw online, but in the description, it said the ideal renters must be okay with cats. And we're like, that is a weird thing. Are there just like cats living in this place? And I kind of think that maybe it turned off some people into looking into it further. I'm not opposed to cats. So we were like, okay, well, let's just go check it out. And as it turns out, our neighbor has a bunch of Siamese cats that live outside and basically love to come to our house and sit on the front porch and kind of be our pets too. And that is like the perfect kind of cat for me. If somebody else will take care of it and feed it and we can just enjoy the benefits of the cat company on our front porch, then I am absolutely all for that. Because they're Siamese cats, they're a little bit loud, but that also doesn't bother us at all. So that was just kind of a funny thing. We're glad that it was put on Craigslist so that we had full disclosure of what we were getting ourselves into. But come to find out, it wasn't nearly as big of a deal as I think we expected it could be. The 2 other places I would recommend looking at, aside from those 3 top websites, would be any local listings. So in the community that we're in, there is a specific website that we found through the local newspaper that has listings of certain things, especially privately owned rentals. The last place in kind of the same vein, very similarly, would be church needs list, local church needs list. So this is something that my old church used to have, where anybody could put on there, hey, we have a room to rent for somebody who's interested, or people could go on there and say, I need this or that. Very similar to a Facebook Marketplace, but it oftentimes will involve people that you already know. That's my last little tip for you there. If you're feeling like you're not finding anything on those 3 main websites, then get a little creative. We found some cute things on there as well. Okay, if you are searching on Facebook, Craigslist, one of those sites, the 3 key terms I would search are ADU, that stands for Additional Dwelling Unit, ADU, Mother-in-law Suite, or Guest House. Those 3 things tend to pull up a lot of different options on Craigslist, for instance, of people in the area who have some extra square footage that they're looking to rent out and make a little bit of income. Now, I've mentioned privately owned places a couple times because we have found that that is a big benefit. Of course, our last apartment, part of the reason why we left is because it was owned by a corporation. We had a lot of frustrations with them. And now the place that we own, we rent from an older woman who lives next door, who is the kindest, sweetest person in the whole world, and it has been such a lovely relationship. I would recommend privately owned if you're looking to rent if you can. Just a couple of final thoughts here. I really recommend that as you're looking for places, please just try and keep an open mind. It doesn't cost much for a can of paint, like I said, and just think about the small ways that you can make a space a little bit warmer and happier and more of a home. So that's the first thing. Keep an open mind. Not everything is move-in ready. The last thing I wanted to mention here is that also keep in mind that downsizing is an adjustment. It just is going to be a little bit hard at first to say goodbye to some things that you might be sentimental about, that you have memories with. One of the biggest, most wonderful things that we've learned in making the transition into a tinier space was that in life, it's just stuff, right? It's just stuff. And once you get rid of it, I promise you're not going to think about it or miss it as much as you think you're going to. But sometimes that saying goodbye is a little bit of a process, and that's okay. It's a bit of an adjustment, and just keep that in mind. This is a new lifestyle. It's definitely different, but I think at the end of the day, the rewards for downsizing and living in a smaller house actually way outweigh the value of the stuff that you have in your house. If anyone out there has already decided to downsize or has lives in a small or tiny lives in a tiny space, then please let me know in the comments and tell me if there's any additional advice or encouragement you might have for somebody who is making that consideration. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. I will see you next time.